Hi everyone, and welcome to NCBOLD's Drop It Like It's Hot, Spice Up Classroom Engagement. I'm Rachel Ray, and I will be your host, chef, and presenter for the day. So if you would like to follow along, the link to these slides is in the blue underneath my name, Rachel Ray, or you can scan the QR code in red. As I mentioned, my name is Rachel Ray. I will be your executive chef for today while we spice things up in the classroom. And just a little bit about me is that I'm the 2023 Burroughs Wellcome Fund Western Region Teacher of the Year. I'm a Spanish teacher at Madison High School in Madison County Schools. And when I'm not teaching, I love farming, mountains, flowers, and hiking. To the left are a couple pictures. One is of my dog, Gabby, at our Christmas tree farm, and then the second one is of me and my husband, and his name is Matthew, and I love spending time with both of them. So the agenda for the day is we're going to prep the area, get to know one another just a little bit. We're going to talk about the power of dopamine in the classroom. We're going to taste test some strategies. I've got 3 powerful strategies for you to get your kids up, moving, and excited and engaged in learning. We're going to clear the palate and reflect on some of the strategies, and then I'm going to give you a new twist on an old flavor. So something you may already be doing in your classroom, but we're going to spice it up a little bit. And then hopefully you'll have some time to create your own from some of the templates that I'm going to give you today. So first, let's get to know one another a little bit. If you would like to answer any one of these questions, I would love to hear from you. You can answer this question, any question you would like, and send me an email. My email is at the end of this slide. I would love to hear from you. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm going to answer question number 4. It says, if you could have one service for the rest of your life, which would it be and why? Chef, masseuse, chauffeur, or maid? For me personally, I would take a masseuse any day. I have such great tension in my back and my shoulders. I don't mind cooking for myself. I don't mind driving myself around or cleaning my house. But if someone could rub the tension out of my neck and shoulders and my back, I would be eternally grateful. So a masseuse would be the pick for me. But if you would, definitely email me your responses. I would love to hear from you. So let's talk about the power of dopamine. Dopamine is the happy hormone, and it is so powerful when used effectively in your classroom. So I am a Spanish teacher, and I listen to podcasts that have to do with engagement in the Spanish classroom. And I was listening to a podcast the other day with this Spanish teacher, and her name is Jess Pasaros, and she said this quote: "Whenever you can create an environment where a student has dopamine, they have an intrinsic motivation to repeat that behavior." And I thought, wow, that is such a great statement, because how many times have I seen in my own classroom where I'm using a strategy where students are engaged, they're moving around, they're active, and they are so involved in it that they love what they're doing, and they're learning without realizing that they're learning. And at the end of the activity, they're so sad that it's over, and they want to do it again the very next day. And so any time that we can create those little micro bursts of joy, of just activity, of passion in their learning, those students are going to love that, and they're going to want to come back to it over and over and over again. And that just creates a really exciting classroom environment where kids are ready to learn. So before we jump into the strategies, I want to give you a brain break. And this is one that I use in my classroom quite often. And I use it when I see the glaze coming over the eyes of my students, or I've been teaching directly for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I just want to get them up and moving and refocus. So this brain break is called It's Art. And here's how it works. So I play music, and I have students get up and walk around the room. So I'll say, all right, guys, let's stand up, let's stretch a little bit, walk around the room. And then when the music stops, they have to freeze, and I'm going to display a number on my screen. So there's 2 parts to this. You kind of have to have this prepped ahead of time. I just have a random slide deck of these. And so you're going to want a picture that goes along with the number that you're going to put on your screen. So the picture should be just people doing random poses, any number of people doing any random pose. And the number should correspond with the number of people in the picture you're about to display. And I'll show you an example of this in just a moment. So after students have grouped themselves into the number you have displayed, then show the image. And then have students try to recreate that image with their group. It's hilarious, it's fun, it gets the kids moving, and it refocuses and re-energizes them. So here's how it would work. I'm playing music, I yell freeze, I post the number is 3. Students group themselves into groups of 3. Sometimes you may have an extra, sometimes you may have a group of 2, and that's fine. And then I display this picture. It has 3 people in it, and they have to recreate that image. Facial expressions, poses, everything. Recreate the image. My kids love it. It's hilarious. And I love to throw in like little random yoga poses as well from off the internet. And it just is so fun and re-energizes them after a longer period of engagement. So let's move on to our first strategy. Let's do a little taste testing with our strategies. So the first strategy I want to share with you is called a word pyramid. My high schoolers love this activity, but I actually learned this strategy from an elementary teacher. So this strategy can work across the board from our littles to our teenagers. And I love it because it's very easy, it's little to no prep, and it's a great way to review vocabulary from a unit or at the end of the year, just reviewing all that you've learned, or if you're trying to level up the vocabulary with students in their writing, this is a great way to do it. So here's how you do it. You're going to arrange the vocabulary in a pyramid fashion. So 3 words on the bottom, 2 in the middle, and 1 word on the top. And then you're going to group students in a group of 2 to 3 or 4 if you'd like, and you want to play. So here's what the pyramid looks like just to give you a visual. Like I said, 3 words on the bottom, 2 words in the middle, and 1 word on the top. These words are just random. This is just a random assortment of things that were in my brain the day I created this PowerPoint. But if you want to do it as a review activity, pull vocabulary from the unit that you are working on and just arrange it in a 3-2-1 fashion. So once you have it set up, here's how you're going to set it up with the kids. You're going to want to have the kids determine the order of play. So who's going to go first, who's going to go second, who's going to go third, and so forth. The first student that's going to go and be in the hot seat, they're going to have their back toward the word pyramid. So they are not going to be able to see the word pyramid at all. You're going to want them facing an opposite wall. You do not want them to have any visual or eye contact with the word pyramid. Don't want them to see those words. And then have the other students in the group facing the word pyramid so that they can see the words that they are going to be describing. Have the students who are describing and looking at the pyramid start at one side on the bottom of the pyramid and describe the word without saying the word. So for example, they've got to start at either side on the bottom. So they can either start with blobfish or the word Amazon rainforest, and they're going to move across in either direction. They just have to pick one side and go with it. So for example, if I started with the Amazon rainforest and that was my word I was going to start with, I'm going to think of a way to describe the Amazon rainforest without saying the word Amazon rainforest. So I may be like, okay, this is a jungle and it's in South America, and there's lots of animals there. And hopefully my partner would guess, oh, it's the Amazon rainforest. But you're going to start on one side on the bottom of the pyramid, describe the word without saying it, and then work your way over and up. So once they've got all 3 on the bottom, then go to the next level, work your way over, and then finally work your way up to the very top word. You're going to want to set a timer for X amount of minutes, however long you want to play, and then have your students race to the top. And so this is a great way as you're walking around and monitoring just to see which kids are struggling with which word or which concept. So for example, maybe we've been learning about rhinos, but a kid has no idea how to either describe it or remember the word and doesn't understand what we're talking about. So that may be a point that you just take a mental note of, okay, we need to review the word rhinoceros. So it's just a great way as you're monitoring to check out which words students are struggling with, which words they may need a little support with, which words are harder for them to describe or to understand the description of. And then you rotate and have students play however many rounds you would have them play. So usually I have 5 slides of word pyramid so that each person gets a round in the group, and I'll have them play over and over again. And then if you want to make it super fun, just take it back to the very original word pyramid and see if they can do it again. But if it gets boring, which hopefully it won't, here's a couple ways that you can spice it up. So the first way, this is the easiest way. Obviously, students can't say the vocabulary term. But if you really want to spice it up, Have students describe the word in only one word. So for example, for the Amazon rainforest, if I could only use one word to describe it, maybe I'm going to use the word jungle, and that's all I can say, and hopefully my partner will be able to pick up and understand, okay, we're talking about the Amazon rainforest. Usually I instill this strategy or this level of spice after we've done a couple rounds. So we're going back to that original slide that we've already done, kind of like playing taboo. If we really want to make it hard, this is where my high schoolers freak out because they're very gestury with their hands. And I tell them, all right, guys, you cannot use your hands. So I have them sit on their hands and then they describe. And once you take away their hands, it's like their whole world has been broken. So it's really fun to see them try to like physically think and rely on their brains to get this word across. Or have students act it out with no words at all. So either way you want to do it, it's really fun. It gets the students engaged and it gets their wheels turning to think of their vocabulary in different ways. They really have to know their content to be able to move up the pyramid. All right, so next strategy, this is one of my personal favorites as well. It's called a review path. And this is one where you as a teacher, it's a blessing to you because you don't have to grade it because it's self-grading. So I have this template for you that you can fill out if you want to play this game with your students. And I use this at the end of a unit, or if I want to just review something very specific in the unit. I fill out my review questions with the template that I'm about to show you, and then I print it out and hang it up around the room. Make yourself a key for the template, and then have students number their paper 1 through 23 and choose any number from which to start. I normally have about 23 students in my class as a piece, and so I just stopped this template at 23 because I like to have my students start at a different number. So I don't like to have 2 students on number 10. I want every student at a different number, and it just creates, it prevents congestion in the classroom or wherever you're playing. Sometimes I like to pin it up out in the hallway so that there's even more space for students to walk around and move. But it just prevents congestion, and it also requires students to be one-on-one with the problem that they're working. And you can use this with any subject, any review topic. So here's what the template looks like. I want to show you the template super quick just to give you an idea of how it works. So question 1, you're going to type it here, and then you've got all these answer choices. So for this one, as I made a note up here, although the slides seem out of order, the slides build off one another. And for example, the answer for question 1 is B, which corresponds to the next slide, question 9. So just like here, whatever my question is, I'm going to make my answer B so that they continue to question 9. So they'll find wherever question 9 is in the room, and then answer that question. So an even better way to look at it is this right here. So just some pop culture for you. So what is the celebration of a girl's 15th birthday known as in Mexico and other Latin American cultures? Is it the Sweet 15, the Quinceañera, the Cumpleaños, or the Fiesta 15? Obviously it's the Quinceañera, so I'm going to go to question 9. So here we're a little bit limited just because it's in a PowerPoint, but like I said, you print these out and hang them up all around your room and let the students go find the answers. So right here, question 9, who gave the United States the Statue of Liberty? Is it Germany, Japan, England, or France? It's France, so you're going to go to question 4. And the beauty of this is that it's self-checking. So if students, wherever they start, so say a student started on question 7, once they have made it through the entire sequence, if they have gotten every question correct, they're going to come back to their starting point at question 7. No matter where they started, they're always going to come back to the number that they started with. So if they're correct, they'll come back to where they started. If they started at question 2, they'll land back at question 2. If they started at question 9, they'll land back at question 9. However, if they start going in circles, they know they've messed up. So they have to go back and try to find which question they messed up on. So this is where you as a teacher can have some discretion. I usually like to have the answer key already printed out for me, so that way when a kid gets super lost, I can just say, okay, read me off what you have, and then I can pinpoint, okay, you need to go back to number 11. That's where you got off. But if you want to make them really think through their answers, just have them start going back individually one-on-one and go find the one that they missed and that was incorrect. So that is up to up to your discretion. You can have them go wherever you want. So if you want to take an extra look at that pop culture one just to see how it works, click on this link and you can filter through those questions and see how it works and how you'll get back to the question with which you started. So this next little strategy is called Pass It Up. And here's how it works. So for this setup, you're going to have students draw pictures to represent each vocabulary term on small individual pieces of paper. So for whatever unit you're studying, give them a list of vocabulary and then have them create pictures of each vocabulary word. Have students cut out written definitions of vocabulary terms. You're going to want these to be definitions that you as a teacher have typed out because you want them to be the same. And then group students in groups of 4 to 5. Seat student groups in a single file row, all facing the same direction, just like the chairs in this picture. So the students in the back must have all the pictures and all definitions in a pile at their feet. Place a magnet on the whiteboard for each team. So for example, if these 3 chairs right here are in a single file row, this is team 1. The next row is team 2. The next row is team 3. And the next row is team 5. Or team 4, I'm sorry, and then team 5. And this person in the back here is going to have everything at their feet. All the pictures from their group and all the pictures or all the written definitions. And then you're going to want them facing a whiteboard divided up with a magnet for each team. So if you call out a definition, here's how you play. The student at the back has to find the picture to match and pass it up. So for example, if you call out the Amazon rainforest and you say, okay, this is a large jungle in South America with an enormity of biodiversity. That's the definition. They've got to find the picture to match that definition. So they're looking for a picture that represents the Amazon rainforest. Once they find it, they pass it up to their team. Every hand on the team has to touch it. But if you call out a term, so for example, you say Amazon rainforest, then the student has to find the matching definition and pass it up. So it creates a little bit of a brain warp where students really have to think, okay, what am I looking for? Am I looking for a definition? Am I looking for a picture? So every member has to touch the paper that is being passed up, and no one can leave their chair except for the student at the front of the group. And the first group to magnet the definition or picture to the whiteboard, hands off, their hands have to be off the magnet, wins the point. And you then rotate at the end of each round. So the student at the front moves to the back. This is very high energy. It's very competitive, especially with high schoolers. So you may want to set up some ground rules at the very beginning. I always set up the ground rule that no matter what, you have to be facing forward. You cannot be turned around and you cannot be out of your seat. And then if you want to make it to where competitiveness doesn't turn ugly, award extra points for good sportsmanship. So if you see people being good sports, give that team extra points. And it really just makes the process a little bit smoother with very competitive kids because now they're playing for extra points for just being a good sport and being a kind person. So if you want to clear the palate a little bit and reflect, you can most certainly email me. Like I said, my email is at the end of these slides. What is a burning question you may have about these strategies? What is a strategy that you're very excited to try out? And then what thoughts are still whisking around in your head? So like I said, we're not in person, so me just describing these may not give you the clearest picture. I'm hoping it gives you a very clear picture, but if it doesn't, that's okay. Send me an email. I would love to email you back and just answer any questions. Or if you need me to set up a Zoom where I just walk you through it a little bit further, please shoot me an email. I will be more than happy and glad to do so. So here is one more brain break that I want to give you, and this can be used as a brain break or as a review strategy, and it's called swipe. So here's how it works. You're going to pair your students up with a partner and have them face one another. You're going to want to place a scrap sheet of paper on the floor between them. This paper is going to get destroyed, so just make sure it's a scrap. You're going to call out random body parts for them to touch on themselves, basically head, shoulders, knees, toes, eyes, ears, mouth, nose. And then when you say swipe, students must be the first to swipe the paper with their foot to the side. You're going to want to play for 1 to 2 minutes. So for example, we're facing one another. The teacher calls out head. I touch my head. The teacher calls out knees. I touch my knees. The teacher calls out toes. I touch my toes. Then the teacher says swipe. And I immediately with my foot try to swipe that piece of paper in the middle between my partner and I want to be the first person to do so. So that's just a way for it to be a brain break, just a movement activity. But if you want it to be a review activity, do some true or false questions. So for example, make up a bunch of false statements about whatever you are learning in your unit of study. And then when you say a true statement, the students have to swipe the paper. I do this a lot with my Spanish classroom. It's very fun, and the students really have to be actively listening to try to figure out, okay, what's true, what's false, and if it's true, oh, I gotta react and I've got to grab this. So you could do that for vocabulary terms. Maybe you want to say like, the Amazon rainforest is in North America. Okay, that's not true. They're not going to move. Then you can say, okay, the Amazon rainforest is in South America, and they swipe and get it. So that's a brain break for you. You can use either way. All right, here we go. A new twist on an old favorite. So I'm a huge fan of gamification in my classroom. I love it. It's so much fun, and the kids love it too. But it's fun until one student or one group of students is always winning. And I'm sure you've seen this over and over in your classes. You have some very strong students who are very engaged, very active, and they remember everything and they remember every detail. And so their group is always winning. Or they're just answering first every single time. And it gets discouraging to other students in the room. So this is a great way. I'm gonna teach you a strategy to kind of keep students on the edge of their toes and to level the playing field so that it's anybody's game anytime. So novelty is a great way to infuse dopamine into the minds of your students. So we all have these amazing strategies that we're using in our classroom, but if there's any time that you can put a new twist on it, it really creates a microburst of joy for your kids. And this is how I do this in my classroom. I keep the point systems unfair. And ironically, it keeps the playing field very fair. So let me show you how I do that. This is called the unfair game. And I basically call it Jeopardy, but with unknown point values. So here's how you set it up. I've got a template for you that you can use, and you just fill it with content-related questions. But instead of having the students know the point values, they don't ever get to see the point values until after they've answered the questions. And the point values can be positive or they can be negative. So you're going to want to divide your students into the teams, and then you're going to want to play. So let me show you this template. It looks like this. So it's the unfair game. You're going to want to type the question of your topic here. There's 25 questions. And so when you play, I'm going to put this in slideshow mode for you so you can see. Say that a team chooses question 13. We're going to go there. The question is here. Maybe it says, what date is Independence Day in the United States of America? So your students, you're going to set them on a timer. They have X amount of time to answer. And maybe they say the 4th of July. So we're going to say the answer is the 4th of July. So here's where you have to ask them an important question. Do you want to keep the points or give them away to another team? Now keep in mind, we don't know what the points are. So the students have to make a decision within their team pretty quickly because they're on a timer. Trust me, if you don't give them a timer, it will take them forever to decide. If they're going to take a risk and keep the points, or if they're going to take another risk and give them away. We don't know if they're positive or negative. So let's say that this team decides to keep the points. What's the point value? Let's reveal it. Oh no, it's -9 points. So at that point, even though they got it right, they've just lost 9 points. However, if they had made the decision to give those points away to another team, it could have been another team that lost 9 points. And then you just continue to go back to the game board and another team goes and plays. So it just adds an element of unfairness, of the unknown, and it's always keeping students on their toes. And you can make the point values as crazy as you want. It can be +100, -100, +1, plus nothing. It's whatever you want it to be. And you can go in and edit that template and change up the point values however you would like. And then sometimes I even give my students the option of, do you want to play for the highest point value or do you want to play for the lowest point value? So I've seen this game played so many times where the underdogs really come up from behind and take it at the very end because they hit that jackpot question and made the right choice of keeping or giving the points away. So, like I said, here's just directions to make it even more specific on how to play. But if you're playing with multiple teams, sometimes I divide the class in half and we play that way. I found it's better to make smaller teams. So determine which team goes first, second, and third, and then determine if the class is playing for the most or the least points, and then give them 1 minute to answer. Be firm on that. Always have a timer ready. And I like to play where every member of the group is responsible for knowing the answer to the question. And so I will call on a random group member, and that creates accountability. So it's not just one person doing all the heavy lifting. Everybody has to be accountable for that answer because they never know who I'm going to call on in the group to answer. So if the team answers correctly, they get to decide whether to keep or give away the points to another team. And only after they have made the decision to keep or give away, then you reveal the points. You do not reveal the points before they make the decision. However, here's another catch for them. Incorrect answers automatically receive the points no matter what the value is. So, for example, if the question was, what date is Independence Day in the United States of America? And maybe they say it's July 2nd. Even if the points are plus 100, they still get to keep them. That's just the unfairness of the game because it still allows people who might be struggling with the content to still potentially have a chance. So another way that you can create some novelty in the classroom is by using a simple deck of cards. And you can use this at any game that you have a point system in. So in playing games where students are competing for points, have students draw from a deck of cards to determine the number of points they receive for answering a question correctly. And if you want to make it even spicier, a hot tip is to draw a secret card at the beginning of the game, and at the end of the game, reveal that card. So for example, before we start a game, I will draw a card and I'll keep it a secret. And at the end, when they're tallying up their points, I'll say, okay, guys, the secret card was a 3 of hearts. And if the team has that card in their deck that they have drawn throughout the course of the game, they can double their points. So I like to play it with cards simply because it eliminates that frustration from groups who think, oh my gosh, it's only one team that's always getting the correct answer and they're always getting it first. I'm never going to get it. I rarely ever do first person to answer gets the points now. I always let the group put a timer and I say, all right, reveal. Everybody reveals their answer. And if the team has it correct, they come up and draw a card. And so that way everybody's in play at all times. It's anybody's game and it's fair all the time. But you never know what the card's going to be, so it's always a guessing game to know who is actually going to win at the end of the round. So if you've enjoyed these strategies or if you have any questions, I would love to connect with you. Please email me with any questions or feedback. My email is rachelray@madisonkk12.net. Please be very careful as to how you spell my name. My mom made me very special and gave me a very unique spelling. And I tell my students all the time, if I don't respond within 48 hours, you have most likely spelled my name wrong. So just be very careful with that. RACHAELRAY@madisonkk12.net. And then, if you would like, take a few minutes to fill out this feedback form for NCBOLD. Let us know how we're doing and how we can help assist you further. But I hope that you have taken away some great strategies and then use those templates on your own to create your own review paths and your own unfair games for your own classroom, and have fun of using those little micro moments of joy in your classroom. Email me with anything you need. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for attending this session. Have a great day.